More and more tech firms and sports equipment manufacturers are producing smartwatches and fitness bands with hundreds of devices now available for consumers to buy. However, with the wearables market still in its infancy, many devices are experiencing teething problems such as poor battery life or limited functionality. So, with the launch of the Moto 360, we're asking, is it still too soon for the smartwatch?
There's a lot of attention on the wrist because it is such a well-known and understood form, I suppose. You know, we've been wearing watches for many, many years. So it's a very easy space to put another screen where you can easily glance at. So you hear the phrase glanceables as well. It's kind of smaller interfaces that you can just quickly have a peek at rather than necessarily pulling your phone out, which is quite interesting. We're only starting to see the really, really early forms of what wearable devices could be, but there is a lot of attention on wristwatches at the moment.
While wearables are currently most associated with wrist-worn devices, it is expected that they will become more commonplace on other parts of the body in the future.
It won't be that long before we're starting to see really sensors that are all over the body. But there's a separation in wearables. I think there's where the sensors are and where the screens are. So your wrist is always going to be a great place to just have a glance at, because as you're running you can see some data there and then, or if you're in that meeting. But the sensor might actually need to be around your chest or around your throat or on your head or wherever. So there's a separation between those two things. And at the moment we're seeing all the technology really sitting in the same place where the interface is. And there's only so much which you can measure from having a wristwatch, because it's movement of the arm or perhaps something from the skin or heartbeat. But there's so much more data which you can pull from the body. That'll be the interesting space which wearables move into.
For the smartwatches currently on the market, a major factor holding them back is the gap between what smartwatches promise and what they actually deliver.
They're delivering some of the functionality which we're excited about, like notifications or sensor technology, but they're not delivering on what the consumer needs are really. They're still quite novel. So I think there's a long way to go in terms of battery life. We'll start to see devices that actually use the movement to create power, as you do with watches already. I think it will be interesting. And also connectivity to other wearables. At the moment, they're all focused in a single area, so your watch might talk to your phone, but that's pretty much it. But the interesting thing is when you start to build that network of sensors and devices all over your body, the different systems that talk to one another. And I think that's when we'll start to see really interesting things, that your Nike talks to your Apple, talks to your Lassie, talks to your whatever. And so I think we're still really early days, and we're going to see a lot of investment and growth into wearables, but we don't really know what they're really going to look like yet. It's not too early. It's a really exciting time to see what happens and what unfolds, and I hope that more people use them in different ways to see how they can be useful in their everyday life.
Only time will tell whether the Moto 360 or the forthcoming Apple Watch will capture the public's imagination. Thanks for tuning into this week's Tech Talk. For all your news and reviews, go to ibtimes.co.uk/technology.